Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. You join us for this Predict 2026 interview, and with us in the virtual studio is Will Moroney, the Chief Revenue Officer at Temenos, and we're going to be speaking about core banking and crucially those innovation points and resilience for 2026. Welcome, Will.
Hi, Liam. It's great to be on, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So if we think about last year and into this new year, banks are still very much hyper-focused on innovation and technological success. But there are obviously some issues around resilience sometimes. How can banks ensure they have this balance between growth and innovation for this year? And what defines a successful bank under those contexts?
Yeah, I think that as we lead into 2026, the themes are going to be very similar to exiting 2025. What we're finding with our banks is that they're not standing still. They're working very hard to move forward and progress all the time. And the three main themes that keep coming up as they work to do this are reliability, adaptability, and of course, customer centricity. So banks, they've got to remain absolutely reliable. However, they've got to continuously adapt to the change that's happening in the market. And that change is ever present. It's not just coming from the fintechs and the digital startups to continue to push the boundaries, but it's coming from everything else that happens in our lives, really. You know, as we see the way that we interact with technology as humans, it's continually evolving. And as the mobile phone and the apps that are on it evolve, then banking customers expect that same evolution to come into their experience with banks. So trends like hyper-personalisation, that's reaching each customer almost as a unique individual, which you get in lots of other app experiences. Customers expect that. They expect that from their banks. And banks then are under pressure to offer effortless customer individual journeys. To achieve this, of course, banks have to modernize. They've got to modernize their digital solutions, which is a slightly easier task than modernizing what's at the back, the core solutions. And it's the core solutions then that hold banks back. If you can only do so much on a certain foundation, you've got to upgrade that foundation if you want to really change the game in how you offer solutions to your customers. And we're going to see that continue on into 2026 from 25. The time is now, really. We're seeing a growth in banks globally, in our customers and our prospects, on really looking at their core systems, modernizing them, making them more flexible, making them more reliable, and of course, making them more adaptable, allowing for that customer centricity at the front end. So we support sustainable transformation. That's what we do every single day here at Temenos. There's over 1,000 core banking clients, from tier ones to regional community banks and over 500 digitals. We had 315 go lives across our portfolio in 2025. So showing, again, huge activity in this space of continuous modernization and upgradation on the core systems.
So if we think about the last year as being a phase of experimentation, how do we now go into 2026 and make sure that banks are successful with a year of implementation?
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think 2025 was a year of experimentation. I'll handle this one, I think, by covering three distinct areas. One being progressive modernization, then digital banking, and of course, I've got to talk about AI. Okay, so I think progressive modernization was a theme throughout 2025, and you'll see I've talked about that throughout 2025. And yeah, it probably was an experimentation year for progressive modernization, and we did work on a lot of projects, and we changed our approach where it was more of a modular or composable approach to the bank's modernization journeys. I see that growing in 2026. I think that's going to take off, and I think that will probably become the new norm from 26 onwards. From a digital banking perspective, we've been at digital banking, haven't we, since the internet was founded, really. The innovation that's come in there has ensured that it's been easier to create digital banking platforms. Okay, now that's across the board. Banks are even creating their own digital banking platforms internally, and they're starting to use AI now to do the coding for this. But the challenge with digital banking is it's only as good as the foundational platform that it sits on. So the bank does then go back to core. So I think that the experimentation in digital banking has shown the banks even more how they can hyper-personalize and make the customer at the center of banking. But it's also demonstrated, Liam, to them that they do get held back by their core banking solutions. So I think that for 26, we'll see a lot more focus on the core, releasing these great digital platforms that the banks are putting in. And then finally, AI. Let's talk about AI. AI has been the hype, and I guess the main hype of 2025, but hasn't it been really exciting? Because we've seen some of the use cases that it brings into our space. But the most important thing here, and what we work with our customers on here, is really disseminating the hype from reality. We've got to be working together to see how does AI make a return on investment for the banks that are using it, but also how does AI make that customer experience a lot better? And I think there's a number of quick areas I can discuss where we're going to see real progress in 2026. We're going to continue to see AI bringing in more hyper-personalized experience for the customers, which is fantastic. We will see AI help banks consume and use core banking products in a more user-friendly way. And finally, the one that I'm really most excited about is we're going to see AI really help with the deployment and with the upgradability and also with the operation of core banking systems. So we're just at the very beginning of the AI journey. It's got to be relevant. It's got to show a return on investment. But wow, the prospects here and the go forward in our industry is game changing.
So this is fantastic, obviously, but it's important to make sure the customer is happy and that they're getting what they need. So what does all this innovation and change mean for both banks and the end customer?
So let's handle the banks first. I think I just referenced it in the last answer, but let me double down on it. Progressive modernization with AI will make implementations faster. Okay? So that means that banks can bring more modern solutions onto their platforms in a faster and an easier way. It will also bring confidence to these banks to modernize without risking stability. And this is really, really important because many banks, Liam, are still running systems from the 60s and from the 70s. And there's a really real reason for that. And that is that you need confidence to know that you can take these systems out. They've been in and working for decades. So banks see risk in changing systems like this, and banks don't like risk. But organizations, our banks will become more agile and they'll operate a lot more efficiently in the future. And I think that's great for those organizations because margins are being put under pressure. There's a lot of other players in the market, and a lot of these players, they don't have the technical debt and they don't have the operational debt that large banks have. And really importantly, they can innovate now, but by bringing in new modern solutions, they're ready for the future. And we really don't know what the future is going to bring for us, especially with the acceleration that AI is bringing into our space. And for the customers, it's quite simple. They want reliable systems. They want reliable platforms coming from their banks, but they do want a hyper-personalized service. They want to feel that they're interacting with a bank digitally as if they were in that branch back in the 1980s with the teller that knows their name and knows their family. They want that sort of hyper-personalized service, and they're getting that from other non-financial platforms. So financial entities have to deliver those experiences as well. They want faster and they want smarter experiences. And that's what AI is able to bring to us. So 2026 is going to be a very, very exciting year. And I think it's going to be a great year for our banks and the platforms that they're using and bringing to market, and an even better year for the customers that are interacting at our banks.
That's an exciting point to end on. So thanks for joining the studio once again.
Thank you very much, Liam. Pleasure, and I'll see you throughout 2026.